Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is your host, Tarod McKnight, and you are now tuned into Tarodcast. For all of the brand new listeners out there listening to our show for the very first time, welcome. For all of you returning listeners coming back for another weekly dose of Tarodcast shenanigans, welcome back. Now say it with me, y'all. At Tarodcast, you can take everything we say with a grain of salt. We simply just want to add some flavor to your meal. So if we are doing that, then we are doing our job. I hope y'all said it with me this time. I really meant that. But today's episode is based on, again, observations of the community who looks like me, but specifically how we move and how loud we are when we move. So without further ado, today's episode topic is seen but not heard. This is Tarodcast. Let's get it. Alright, everyone, welcome back to Tarodcast. Again, I'm your host, Tarod McKnight, and happy 40th episode. Y'all, we are 10 episodes away from our 50th episode, and we're actually very quickly approaching our 1-year anniversary. And when I think about that, I realize that we have been doing this for a whole year, and I have to do something that commemorates that. So I'm going to be doing a giveaway on our 1-year anniversary show. And so be on the lookout for more details about that giveaway, because hopefully this giveaway will keep you warm during the upcoming winter months as the world gets colder. So that's the only thing that I'm going to say about it. More details will be communicated in later episodes as well as on our social media. So make sure to stay tuned to that, and you will have an opportunity to receive something special from your friends here at Tarodcast. So I just want to give a quick shout out to everyone who continues to support us, everyone on our Patreon. Y'all are the MVPs. Everyone who continues to share our show with everyone that you know on your social media. Y'all are the MVPs. And if you are listening here and now, you, my friend, are the MVP. So I just want to let you all know that you all have my heart. You all are so loved by me, and I appreciate everything that you continue to do, even if it's just lending me 45 minutes of your ear each episode. That is, to me, just one of the most phenomenal things that you can do. And I appreciate you trusting me with your time in this capacity. So I love you. Thank you. And please continue to support in all ways that you do. Now, before I get into the topic, of course, we're going to handle our housekeeping details. So let's go ahead and jump into that now. If you would like to take our show with you on the go, just know that we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Podchaser, Castbox, Podcast Addict, iHeartRadio, Deezer, and YouTube. Tarodcast is also on Throne. Throne is a free live messaging application that allows us here at Tarodcast to exclusively reach our listeners. Make sure to sign up if you'd like to keep the conversations going after the episode. If you're in the market looking for natural oils for ultimate hydration and care for your hair and skin, hit up the Black-owned business, The Resilient Lotus, at www.theresilientlotus.com. And last but not least, another Black-owned business. If you are a lover of authentic chunky salsas and scrumptious birria tacos, make sure to reach out to Morenitas Salsitas. As always, you can find all of this information in our show notes. So, seen but not heard. I tried to be clever in the spelling of herd because I know the phrase is H-E-A-R-D for herd, but I spelled it H-E-R-D. Again, this is my failed attempt at being clever as far as giving you a clue as to what we are talking about. So today's topic, yes, like I said before, is about the collective and loud movements of the Black community in this country. And before I get into my opinion and thoughts about that particular circumstance, I first want to talk about herds when it comes to the scientific outlook on it. So a herd is simply a group of animals that are the same. And many animals, based on the animal that the animal is, has a different name for the collective group of animals, but a lot of their functions are pretty much the same. So when you think about a group of lions, it's called a pride. If you think about a group of wolves, it's called a pack. If you think about a group of fish, it's called a school. A group of sheep is called a flock. A group of crows is called a murder. And I actually find that particular classification to be especially hilarious. But typically you see these animals grouped together because they are the same animal biologically, and typically these groups have a specific leader. Now in the farm animal sense, like sheep and cows, they have a human leader typically, which is called a shepherd. But most other animals, especially in the wild, they have what's called an alpha. And the alpha is the one who is responsible for basically charting the course for the direction of their particular group. And so typically alphas are going to be the ones responsible for maintaining the protection of the group. They're also going to be the ones who are responsible in all of the decision making for that particular group as well. So if they need to move in order to find more area because their group is getting bigger, then the alpha is responsible for leading the charge and leading the travel efforts to find a bigger area to support that group. Also, if they're looking for a more plentiful source of food, the alpha again is responsible for leading the group to a place where food is more plentiful. And if they simply need to find a peaceful area where they can reproduce, again, the alpha is responsible for finding that place where the group can be safe in order to reproduce and expand and create more of themselves to keep the lifespan of the group healthy. And so when you look at animals and how they move, there are so many different ways where they incorporate the overall health and benefit of the group, and they trust the strongest member of that group to lead them to a place where they can continue to do what they do. And so there's a lot of practical uses for a group of animals because, again, they are looking to preserve who they are. They are looking to make sure that their well-being is intact and uninterrupted and undisturbed. And so on the animal side, we see a lot of benefits of animals that move in this way and that band together in this way because it offers a more strong sense of security, and you have more members that can contribute as opposed to flying solo where everything is dependent on just that one animal as far as survival and reproduction and safety and things like that. And so yeah, you when you look at it from the animal sense, you see that so many animals have adopted this strategy in order to preserve who they are and to keep themselves from growing extinct, but to actually flourish and to benefit from one another and to mate and all these different things. And so just now transitioning over into the human element of it, and specifically targeting and talking about the Black community. A lot of us tend to also adopt this herd mentality where when it comes to the thoughts and beliefs of the collective, we tend to move when it presents a picture that shows us where we should be going, or where we are thought to be going. And there are many different ways in which we actually move together as a herd. And one of those ways, especially one of the ways that was integral to a large part of my life, was religion, and being a part of a specific belief system that was within a greater belief system that basically determined our path as far as where we went and also how we interacted with others. Now, in looking at this, religion again is just one of those factors that contributes to, a herd. It's a group of people who believe the same things, and therefore they engage in the same things, and they want to preserve that. Another way or another form of a herd is who we decide to follow, especially in the entertainment industry. We have the followers of Beyonce called the Beehive. We have the followers of Nicki Minaj called the Barbs or the Barbies. And I believe Meg Thee Stallion is called the Hot Girls or something like that. I haven't researched it that far, but we also tend to find people that we resonate with, and we follow their every move. We follow their lead. We follow their command. And if someone or something is posing a potential threat to that person that's being followed, then the rest of the group swarms in and rushes to defend that particular person. And so, these are just two ways I could just think of right off the bat that contribute to this overall sense of being a herd. And typically, again, these people that I mentioned, or even in the religious sense, the pastor, the preacher, the minister, they're going to be the ones who are looked at as the leader or the alpha or the shepherd or whatever the case, whatever the term may be. And because they are in that position, their actions are going to be the actions that steer that group in whatever direction that they're going. And when we look at this, oftentimes people really have to be careful with what and with whom they subscribe to, because not everyone out here has the collective's best interests at heart. And oftentimes we find that the more charismatic a person is, the more of a pull, the more that they are able to seduce people into joining their group. And as humans, as people, we are always looking for relationships. We are looking for places where we feel we can belong. And there really isn't anything innately wrong with that. We want to have communities that make us feel welcome. We want to have communities that make us feel protected. And we want to have communities that actually honor who we are, and they really take to our thoughts, our skill sets, our ideas, the things that we have to contribute to the larger collective. And so innately, there isn't really anything wrong with being a part of a group that is like-minded, or being a part of a group that does serve you and allows you to also serve in that same capacity, and everyone benefits from one another. There isn't anything wrong with that. And so I want to start off by saying that, because I'm not saying in this episode that being a part of something is bad. I'm not saying that at all. And so just to iron that out, I just wanted to at least make that point clear, because there are a lot of groups out here who are doing very, very wonderful work, doing very, very exemplary work in the community, and, you know, are actually working towards a goal of trying to inspire and enrich and benefit others. And, you know, I think that is a very, very wonderful thing when it's done with a mindset and a heart that actually wants that for people. But when it comes to a lot of other groups and a lot of other people, and just when I think about who we are as a Black community at large, I tend to see a lot of us hurting together for the wrong reasons. And typically these reasons end up hurting us and destroying us more than healing us and building us. And in thinking about that, there are so many different influences that are outside of our control that we end up leaning into, that forces our hand as a community of people. And oftentimes, because of who we are and the fact that we are so loud and our emotions can be riled up so quickly, other influences that don't look at us as worthy humans have a way of steering how we move and controlling what we look at and what we respond to. And because our emotional response to this kind of stimuli is so heavy, we end up swaying with the wind. I said last episode a couple times, oh, how quickly we forget. And there's a lot of things that we end up forgetting. And when it comes to our existence, when it comes to who we are as people, you know, we like to forget that even some of our own are not good people. And to think about the fact that there are a lot of us actually, who will rally behind someone who is not an actual good person, that concerns me. And to think about the fact that when it comes to our movements, we want everyone to know how we're moving, that concerns me. So we're going to dive deeper into that after our commercial break. I hope you have your water close by. Go ahead and take a little swig of that. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how there are people out here that we have put on this pedestal that we should not necessarily be following. And that when it comes to our best interest at heart as a group, realizing that a lot of us need to really also understand that our own individual thoughts and contributions matter than just trying to move with the group for the sake of hiding or for the sake of protection, especially if those types of things that are happening within that group are not to your benefit. So go ahead and get your water, take a drink, and we will be right back. This is Tarodcast. Yo, what's good, everyone? This is your host of Tarodcast, Tarod Rashan, and I just want to welcome you to the commercial break. Now, you already know what time it is. It's hydration time. Get some high-quality H2O in your system now. Got a few things I'd like to go over. First, to all of our new and returning listeners, thank you so much for your ear and your time. To all of our Patreon supporters, I just want you to know that we are not able to do this without your direct support. So the biggest, dopest Tarodcast thank you goes out to you. you. If you're listening in and you're thinking about becoming part of the Tarodcast Patreon family, we'd love to have you. You can find us at www.patreon.com/Tarodcast. Now on Patreon, we have 3 tiers of support: a $2 tier, a $3 tier, and lastly, a $6 tier. Each tier comes with its own set of unique perks, so if you find one that fits you, sign up. For us, the main thing is keeping our subscription prices affordable. We know that you work hard for your money, and if you choose to support Tarodcast this way, we truly want to make it worth your time. To find out more about our Patreon and the perks with each tier, visit www.patreon.com/Tarodcast. We've got it all laid out for you. Also, we've got a merchandise store. Pick up some tees, hoodies, leggings, and more at forevercertain.redbubble.com. All proceeds go right back into the Tarodcast podcast and allow us to keep making high quality content for people just like you. For our listeners out there who would like to support us in a non-monetary way, we'd love that too. Share our show with people you know. Also, share us on your social media. And if your favorite Tarodcast streaming service allows you to rate and review our show and you're loving what you're hearing, take some time and leave us a 5-star review. Ratings and reviews are what set us apart from other podcasts, and also helps us to recommend our podcast to other listeners we otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to reach. Lastly, if you'd like to reach out to us directly, email us at tarodcast@CRTN-T.com. That's tarodcast@CRTN-T.com. All of this information can always be found in our episode notes, so make sure to check there if you forget any of the information we just went over. Once again, thank you all so much, and let's get back to the program. All right, everyone, welcome back to Tarodcast, and I am your host, in case you forgot, Tarod Rashan. So let's go ahead and dive back into it. So we're going to talk about the impact that people have on us as a collective group, and the fact that sometimes how a person's impact can sway us in the wrong direction. And one of the things that I wish that we would change is the fact that we allow the thoughts of a loud minority to drive us into such anger and negativity, where we really should be in a place where if they are not us, if we can clearly see that they are someone who is completely and utterly out of touch with who we are, both as an individual and who we are as a group, we should not allow them to persuade us into action or to persuade us into trying to cancel them. We oftentimes, again, I've said this in one of my previous episodes, but oftentimes we are addicted to outrage. We're addicted to anger. We are addicted to fighting. And a lot of us believe that our entire existence is a fight. Now, I'm not discounting the efforts that those before me have gone through in order to even make me possible, to make even this show possible. What I'm saying is the fact that we need to also be able to honor them in a way where when it comes to everything they did on the front lines, we should be able to do behind the scenes without anybody else knowing about it, because there are other groups of people who handle a lot of their stuff, a lot of their business internally without anybody else knowing about it. But for us, we are very loud about what it is that we do and about who it is that we're targeting. And one of the things that we tend to not realize is that because we are loud, everybody knows who we are and what we're doing. And therefore, if there are any conversations happening that we don't know about, if there are any, decisions being made that affects us as a whole that we don't know about, those things are happening and they are blindsiding us at every waking moment. And so one of the things that I would hope that we could at least try to do is to be more silent, to be more behind the scenes with the big things that actually matter to us and the more substantial things that we want to try and do in order to preserve who we are as a community of people. Because again, we get to a point where we are so outlandish with what it is that we're doing. We're so loud about what we're doing that we're basically feeding everyone else who is not us the plans that we are trying to implement. And therefore, a lot of those things don't come to fruition because of it. And again, it's like we tend to want to shut down so many different people instead of just realizing that, you know what, maybe they're just not that important. And really, we really need to take a moment just to think about what that phrase actually means. Maybe they're just not that important, because we want to make everyone with a dissenting voice against us the primary focus of our wrath and our anger and our action. And we see it all the time, even with this whole presidency that we've been under this entire time. You know, we see it. There are so many different things that this president says and does that just drives us crazy. There are so many, even people like what's her name, Tomi Lahren. You know, whenever she speaks, we are so quick to flock to her, and we want to just try and shut her down and shut her up. But the thing is, we as people, we're all going to have differing opinions. But why does hers matter to all of us so hard? Why are we so hell-bent on trying to silence her? She thrives on that. She thrives on the fact that she also knows she can say something that in her brain is logical, but to us is just complete, you know, it's BS. And yet there will be such a response that all of her supporters are going to flock to her rescue. And here we are wasting valuable time, energy, and tweets trying to put her in her place, as opposed to just saying, you are not important to us. Like, why can't we see that? I feel like it's because we are addicted to outrage, and we want to be angry. We want to fight, as opposed to redirecting all of that energy into ourselves and building one another up to a place where the things that we do, no one else knows about. Like I said before, there are other groups of people who handle a lot of things internally. They handle good things internally. They handle not so good things internally. And the funny thing about us is that oftentimes some of these groups, we as a collective Black community want to emulate, but we are very loud, and they know that. And we've seen it various times in cinema, where we are often looked at as unreliable or not trustworthy because of how loud and haphazard we are when it comes to doing things. And if we expect to make any type of change in our community, we need to keep a lot of our actions inward. A lot of our plans need to be silent, because the moment that those things get out, other people now have a magnifying glass to look in and see what it is that we're doing. And we have this mentality where we just want to show the world that we matter, but we need to concentrate on making one another matter to us. We need to be focusing on this group as a whole, and realizing that differing opinions that are oftentimes had, especially even by people like me, it doesn't mean that we don't see what's going on. Maybe we just have another perspective that hasn't been considered yet. And being able to have the openness of mind to even think about that, to even realize that a differing opinion is not always a bad bad thing. And, oftentimes because we are not born in the same circumstances, we tend to think that somebody who hasn't gone through what we've gone through doesn't know enough about life to tell us anything. And unfortunately, we do that with our own, but yet we expect our own to move as one when any situation presents itself in front of us that requires us to act. And we will always be a splintered and broken people if we continue to move this way, if we find that this is the only way to activate one another. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, we are so far gone to where we are looking for any one thing, and typically it's a negative thing. We are looking for any one thing that's going to ignite that flame within us in order to give us purpose and to give us validity as a group and how we move. Because if you think about political terms like the black vote, just think about that. Think about the fact that, and this exists for all groups, but think about the black vote and what that actually means. When it comes to this particular term, in my eyes, it is rooted in the ability to rile the black community's emotions up enough to where if you are running for some sort of office, you want to make it seem as if there is a emotional connection to the black community, because we are a highly emotional group of people, and oftentimes we allow our emotions to take the seat where our common sense and our logic should sit. And because a lot of politicians know this, they feed on the emotions. They want to rile up or try and be the face of the emotions that we have and that we are so loud about. And so that translates into the black vote. How is it that I can best resonate or rile up positively the emotions of this group of people in order to get them to vote for me? And that's probably one of the more simplistic ways of thinking about it, but it's still true nonetheless, because we as a group, we're not a people who have a sense of direction that puts all of our best interests at heart. And because of that, a lot of other people are capitalizing on this. They're capitalizing on the fact that we are so easily targeted and manipulated. And as a collective, that's not helping anything that we're doing whatsoever. And so we really have to take a moment to just think about the fact that we cannot continue to allow ourselves to be so easily influenced, because the moment that someone charismatic has your influence, it's off to the races. They have your full attention. They probably even have your wallet too. And that's not going to help any cause that we want to try and adopt if we are so quick to respond emotionally to the charisma of someone or the blatant disregard of someone when it comes to us and who we are. So we really have to take a moment to just really think about that within ourselves. Do we want to continue to be emotionally driven to where we are pulled this way and that way by any one person that knows how to pull our emotional triggers? Do we really want that? Or do we want to be able to come together and have think tanks or come together and actually think about what someone is saying or doing and then determining whether this person or whether this idea is actually going to be beneficial? That's what we really need to be doing. Because if we don't, then we will continue to be as leaves in the wind. And the person who is controlling the fan that produces that wind is going to be the ones who determine our actions from here going forward. So we're going to take our last break, y'all, and we're just going to draw all of this to a conclusion. So I still hope that you have your water close by. Make sure you're drinking it, and we will be right back. All right, y'all, we are back from our last commercial break. I haven't heard that music in a long time. I think it's because with the last few episodes, I've just been going so hard that a second actual commercial wasn't needed. But this episode, I needed to just take some time to think, because we tend to realize that there are so many others that we decide to prioritize before we actually prioritize ourselves. And because we do that, we leave no room for us to actually and amicably come together in a way that gives us the benefit of one another's presence as far as who we are and the ideas that we bring. So again, we have adopted this herd mentality that just responds so quick to any negative stimuli that looks like it could be a target, as opposed to just ignoring it and letting it die where it stands. We want to give our energy to things because we feel like we are not heard. You know, we want everyone else to see us, and we have this overwhelming desire to be seen and acknowledged by the world, when this world has dealt us a very, very unfair hand. And so I'm going to take a quote from Timon from The Lion King. You know, when the world turned its back on you, you turn your back on the world. And when I say world here, I mean the people whose attention we so desperately crave, because we want to matter to, sorry to say it, we want to matter to white people so bad. We really do. And we do so many things, and we have so much outrage because we want them to know and to own up to and to feel guilty about how we were brought here and how we have been treated. And I'm not saying that the treatment doesn't deserve retribution. But maybe it's not the retribution that they think or that we think is actually necessary. What if we just stopped supporting a lot of the people that get under our skin? What if we actually just stopped giving our money to the very people that don't see us for who we are? That is one of the loudest things we can do, and yet we can't seem to do that. Why? Because innately we still feel that other people are more important than who we are. And we want them to be under the hammer of justice if there is a crack in their foundation. We want to be the one to take the sledgehammer and to break that foundation and expose all of this craziness and all of this. We want to bring down the hammer in that sense, to give validity to everything that we believe we're fighting for. But what about fighting for one another? What about just actually taking our communities and the members of our communities seriously and establishing communities where we are the head, where we are the ones who are the driving force behind the influence and our success? We spend so much time thinking about other people that we are literally becoming lemmings jumping off of a cliff. We see the person in front of us going after this person or giving someone energy that doesn't deserve it. And in turn, we feel like we have to do the same thing. And that is doing nothing but digging our grave deeper and deeper and deeper. And so I invite you to think about the fact that we need to turn a lot of our energy inward, and we need to start focusing on the beauty and the magnificence and the uniqueness of ourselves and one another, and start handling things internally, start doing things internally, not to announce every move that we're making to the world, but to do it within ourselves, and to know that what we are doing is going to greatly benefit who we are. Because once we actually start doing that, people won't even know what to do. They'll have to really start trying to dig deeper and to find out why it is that we are doing the things that we're doing and nobody knows about it. We don't need to be loud, because this world is loud enough. And because this world is so loud, we have an emotional response to it. And that is always going to be to our detriment as far as how we can be as a people. And so in conclusion, I just want to say that, again, the most important thing that we can do as a group of people is to understand that our own influence on each other is what is going to truly be what makes us who we are. We need to understand that we are not going to be able to move forward until our influence is more powerful than the influence that we give to other people so willingly. We need to be able to take control of our emotions and to actually use logic when the time calls for logic, because we are not going to be able to function as a group of people if we don't actually take that seriously. And that's why a lot of people who actually have peeked behind the curtain and see what's actually going on, they don't move with the group. That's why their opinions seem so outlandish. And you know what? That's not always a bad thing. Sometimes we need another perspective that is not tacked on to the belief of the herd, because oftentimes we end up, like I said, running each other off the cliff, and we're screaming the entire way down. And guys, it's ultimately to our detriment. We have to find the way to come back to one another and trust one another, as opposed to attacking and trying to shut up the people who know they can get under our skin. That is what we really need to be doing. So if we're going to be a collective, that's the only way we're going to be able to do it right, because so many other people who don't look like us are doing it and they are not complaining. You don't see them being loud at all. But y'all, that's our show. I just want to thank you all once again just for listening and for allowing us to be a part of your day. Again, I can't do this without you guys. I can't. And I want you all to continue to find us, support us, listen to us, to share us. And I encourage you, like always, to be more introspective and vulnerable with yourself. Know who you are. Trust in who you are, and love who you are. I've been your host, Tarod McKnight. I thank you for listening, and I hope that you make every effort within yourself and as a group to find and keep your peace. Till next time.